Welcome back. It is the Vegas Take. Sharp and Shapiro, a lot to get to in hour number 3. Our new time slot has begun this week, 9 a.m. to noon. Glad you could join us. And as I said, a lot to get to in this hour. I have opened up the GCI guys' phone lines if you want to be a part of the conversation. We've certainly gotten to a lot here the last few hours. The number to call if you want to be a part of it, 702-257-5396. Again, that number to call, 257-5396. Why don't we lead off with Brady, who's been waiting patiently on hold. Brady, what's going on?
What's up, Brady?
Good morning, Mr. B and Mr. J.
Good morning.
Yeah.
Hey, that guy was great, that movie producer you had on, that white guy. And you're seeing what people like him and other people that are in this workforce today, there is an anti-white bias, and it's starting with the president on down. And what the left and the media like CNN is, they've labeled President Trump now as basically.
Well, hold on. He's not white, but the president's not white. Let's be factually accurate. He's orange.
Well, come on, you're getting a little crazy there. I'm a little bit orange myself. I'm in the desert all the time.
But Brady, come on. Let's be honest here. Do you really think that white people have been oppressed? I mean, can you really? Have there been some instances where that producer called in, and I don't agree with it, by the way. But let's be honest here. Minorities have had far more issues in the United States of America.
And I don't think it's necessary. I don't think you can really take out of that it's more of a Caucasian discrimination thing. I just think it's more of a political affiliation discrimination thing, which is a brand new thing.
And I'm going to tell you right now, Brady, my opinions on Donald Trump have zero to do with the fact that he is white or orange or whatever he is. And
Wait a second. Last night I happened to see good old Beto from El Paso again, opening up his big mouth again.
Robert Francis?
Yeah, Robert Francis, the good old Irishman there. The thing is, I have a problem with that guy. When they ask him directly, they say, hey, Robert, anybody that votes for Donald Trump, are they a racist or not? And he said, well, pretty much, yeah.
Well, no, he didn't. That's not what he said.
It's not good. It's not good.
But Brady, you're misrepresenting what he said. He did not say pretty much, yeah. That is not what he said.
Well, what did he say then? You can clarify me that.
He said that anyone who contributes to Donald Trump's campaign and who supports Donald Trump's rhetoric. That's what he said. He did not say.
He said also, they asked him about his voters, the people that voted for him, and he said basically the same thing. We're white and we're racist, and I don't like that.
Well, that's not what he said, though.
You're pushing the party on the left here is pushing almost for a civil war. If they keep going after like this at every little thing and try to stop this president and anybody who's for this president, you're just going to incite more violence.
Okay, well,
Antifa
let me ask you this then. Okay,
just like Antifa coming up next.
Okay,
I think it
fine.
starts next month. There's going to be a big problem if they go to El Paso next month.
I understand your point, Brady, but let me ask you this question. You've talked about the left. You've talked about how they're inciting violence. Do you put any responsibility at all on the president of the United States also inciting violence, or are you just going to put all the blame on one side of the aisle? Which is it?
The problem is for the president, you have to be reactive, and that's what he's forced to do.
Oh, that's not. Excuse me. When you go into a hospital and you start talking about Better O'Rourke's how many people were at a rally, that's absurd. When you talk about Mexicans and you say they're rapists, that is absurd. When you go after war veterans, that he is. When you tell people to go back to their country, the point I'm trying to make, Brady, I talk about this all the time. Okay. If you have your opinions on the left and you think they're inciting violence, I'll hear you out and I will listen to you. But when you call into this show and you only go after Democrats and you put zero responsibility on anybody on the right, including the commander-in-chief, Donald Trump, I'm sorry, Brady, but with all due respect, you lose a ton of credibility.
Well, Mr. Trump's trying to, you just take the gun example with these last recent shootings. He is trying to get something done. He's actually stepping up to the plate and said, hey, okay, maybe we have to tighten up.
What has he done differently? Excuse me. What has he done differently in the last week or two that he didn't say a week or two after the shooting in Las Vegas? Please tell me something differently that he said.
He said he was going to possibly do something with the background.
He said the exact same thing. He said the exact same thing after October 1. Give me something else.
Oh, and he possibly was going to go after that red flag law.
He said that. He did the same thing after October 1. Those two things. Brady, see, this is all right. I'm going to try to calm down, Brady, because you seem like a nice guy. Okay. The point I'm trying to make is
your head's
Donald Trump.
Red,
well, because he just named the exact things that Donald Trump brought up after the October 1 shooting in Vegas.
What did Obama do in 8 years for gun control?
We're not talking about Barack Obama. You're deflecting now. Well, guess what? You just brought up Donald Trump, and you just praised him for what he's done or said in the last week or two, and I'm just calling you out for the fact that Trump said the exact same stuff after October 1, and guess what was done? Diddly squat. Now, if you want to...
Guess what he did? He increased gun sales by about 100% in the last week. How's that? He just like Obama did when he tried to pass the gun control measures.
What, you just brought up Obama again. I just brought up a point. You just praised Donald Trump for what he's done or said. He hasn't done anything, by the way. What he said...
He's increased gun sales again. That's a good
so
thing,
you think?
isn't it?
Oh, so you think that's the answer? More guns in this country? Are you complicit?
NRA memberships are up also.
So you think that's the answer in this country? You think more guns will stop these mass shootings?
I did make a large purchase, an option purchase into Remington, so I feel pretty good about that.
Okay.
And Colt is a good one also right now.
I don't get that. Brady, what are you trying to say? That more guns are the answer?
No, better security, people that are well-armed, that have CCR permits, that can have a right to carry that like this state does. Put your gun on, because obviously the security forces ain't keeping up with what the guns that are out there. You gotta back up a gun with another gun, or it ain't gonna work, is it?
You got to back up a gun with another gun. So I just asked you, do you think more guns are the answer? And you said no. Yeah. Well, obviously your answer is yes.
In the right hands of people that know what they're doing.
So you're okay with weapons of war. You're okay with AK-47s, AR-15s. You have no problem with regular, everyday people, whether they're responsible or not. You're okay with regular people being able to go in and buy 250 rounds of ammunition without any issue at all. You're okay with a 19-year-old kid who's not even old enough to drink a beer being able to carry a weapon that can just execute people and massacre people. You have absolutely no issues with that at all.
I have the issue that, again, the problem with this, these shooters, they're all on psychotropic drugs. And they all pass the background check.
There you go. So it's just about mental illness. It's got nothing to do with the guns that are out there on the streets. Zero.
The gun isn't the problem; it's the shooter, and you're actually seeing this right in your hands every day.
Really?
So let me ask you this, Brady: should the Second Amendment be revisited, considering the fact that in 1776 or 1777?
Well, obviously he doesn't think that.
Just listen. Brady? What was?
I don't want that touched at all.
Brady,
of course not.
What was the most destructive weapon on the market when the bill was passed?
I don't know, musket.
Exactly. And how many people could you kill with a musket in 5 minutes?
I don't know, as many as fast as you could reload. But
we'll say a max of 3 or 4 in about 5 minutes. Now with an AK-47 with an AK-47 or an assault rifle, how many people can you kill in 5 minutes if you have enough rounds?
If you have a 100-round clip, quite a few.
Yeah, exactly. You understand the point,
So why would we not want the law to match the current technology?
I think there should be a limit on the magazine capacity.
But not the weapon.
Well, that's a moderate compromise.
It's semi-automatic. Every other gun out there that's a Glock or a handgun's a semi-automatic. You'd have to ban every weapon like that then.
Well, listen, it's a discussion, Brady, that Democrats and Republicans need to have. Action needs to be taken.
And thoughts and prayers, all it does, if there's 5,000 people liking a post and saying thoughts and prayers, that just means that, hey, don't forget about me. I care about this too, but I want nothing done. I'm not going to change anything about it.
Right.
But, hey, look at me. I care so much.
Well, I think
it's a cop-out as far as I'm concerned.
As far as I'm concerned, I think you owned him with that argument. I think you won that debate. It's a pretty simple discussion. A musket and comparing it to an AK-47, it's like night and day.
It is literally a different universe.
Yeah, completely. And for him just to talk about rounds and not the actual weapon to me is absurd.
At least that was a reasonable compromise.
Well, at least he was willing to do that, but he certainly didn't say one negative thing about one Republican, and all he did was go after Democrats, and I think that's ridiculous. The GCI phone line opened at 257-5396. Again, that number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation, 702-257-5396. Let's go to Eric. Eric, what's going on?
What's up, Eric?
Hey, that was an interesting comment you said about the, muskets being the most dangerous gun or weapon at the time the bill was passed for the Second Amendment.
What are your thoughts on that? Go ahead, Eric.
Well, at the time, the musket wasn't the only gun or weapon available. There was also Gatling guns. There were 4-shooter pistols. There were guns that were potentially even more dangerous than the musket. And so that's what the founding fathers thought when they wrote up.
Eric, I understand, but you understand our point. Okay, we didn't have these assault weapons that the technology that's out there today. And the point that JD was trying to make, I don't want to put words in your mouth, JD, is
that's fine.
We have to keep up with technology. Okay,
I'm gonna be honest, JD was pretty funny, but
funny. I don't get it. What was funny about what he said?
All right, now I'm freaked out. What just happened?
It's funny that he was completely biased and didn't even look on the other direction, or didn't even put any blame, as you said, on the other side.
Well, I'm kind of confused with what you're saying. We don't want. I don't think we're biased. We don't want more innocent people to die.
No, sorry. I misunderstood it. Talking about the guy you had.
Oh, Brady.
Oh,
yeah.
I apologize, Eric. Yes,
Yeah,
of course.
obviously there's several things that are at fault here.
Eric, obviously, and I apologize. I misinterpreted what you said, Eric. Yes, you're right. The last caller was extremely biased. He didn't say one negative thing about a Republican. Not one.
Right. And I don't think that's right because obviously both sides are. They have been in power, and so obviously, as men are not all good. We tend to everyone tends to slip up and cause problems on both sides. I mean, look at when we bailed out Wall Street. Nobody liked that now, but back then that's what happened, and that was passed and made a lot of people upset.
Yeah, rightfully so.
Right. So yeah, I would admit that on both sides they're pretty awful, not very good people.
Yeah.
Very intentions.
Sure. No, listen, Eric, well said.
The thing is,
go ahead.
When we're talking about the amendments, that these are our constitutional rights, They were made for the protection of us. Now, I know how, weapons of mass destruction, the AK-47s, we know people shouldn't have them. And you're right. That's why the AK-47 is banned here in America. And AR-15, people like to say it's a gun for war when it's really not. Lever action shotguns could do just as much damage. You know what
I think it is, Eric? You're right. I think it's and by the way, thank you for the phone call. We appreciate that. I think it's a weapon for a buffoon like Donald Trump Jr. to go out and kill innocent animals and then cut their heads off and mount them in his garage.
And then call themselves a great hunter.
Yeah, it's a joke.
If you have a weapon like an AK-47 or an AR-15 and you're trying to hunt with it, first of all, it's cheating, one. And two, you won't be able to eat the meat after because the animals will be so mangled. And he mentioned the shotgun. If the shooter in El Paso had a shotgun, there may be maybe 3 or 4 deaths. There would be nowhere near what it was.
That's a good point. No, you're right. That's a good point. And then these idiots, some of these idiots on the right, not all of them, folks. Don't send me emails. Some of these idiots.
And by the way, I'm a conservative.
Some of these idiots on the right.
I support Trump.
Well, he could have brought a knife into the Walmart.
Within reason.
He could have brought a knife into Walmart. He could have brought explosives into Walmart.
He could have had ninja stars.
Yeah,
he could have had nunchucks.
It's the most ridiculous argument I've ever heard in my life. What would you rather have as a white supremacist walks into a Walmart? Would you rather have him use these types of assault weapons like an AK-47? Or would you rather have him walk in there with a knife? Now, in a perfect world, you'd rather have him walk in there with nothing. But we need to be logical about this stuff. It's not just about ammunition. Stop blaming either party. They need to get things done. That is the bottom line. Things need to get done. Period. What is it going to take? And this is why I have no faith in Donald Trump when it comes to this issue. This is why I have no faith in many of the Republicans and some of the Democrats. The NRA, we all know what the NRA is after, and that is money. They don't care about innocent people's lives. They care about their bottom line. They care about money. After the Connecticut school shooting, could you have anything worse than that? Certainly not to diminish what happened in Las Vegas. But you had a bunch of 6- and 7-year-olds that were killed, that were executed. What was done? And yes, Barack Obama was president. What was done during that time? What was done? Nothing. The answer is next to nothing. What was done after the October 1 shooting? Don't you give me this crap. We had a caller who called in who said, Trump's saying all the right things after these horrible mass shootings last week. Guess what? He said the exact same things. The exact same things after the October 1 shooting. And what was done? Well, bump stocks. Oh, wow. He banned bump stocks. Guess what? Anybody can make a bump stock with a belt, for Christ's sake. So don't you tell me that's getting something done. The president is not going to do anything, and here is why. Because the NRA is in his back pocket, as many of the other Republicans. He's met with the NRA director several times in the last week. How do you think those conversations went down? The president said, well, yeah, I want to help with these comprehensive background checks. What do you think the NRA president said? Rumor has it the NRA president doesn't want that to happen. Why? Because it'll hurt gun sales. Why? Because it'll hurt the bottom line of the NRA, an organization, and many others do the same, but the NRA is in the back pocket of many of these politicians, and they influence policy, and it is wrong.
But it's not like these weapons have to go away permanently. Why can't the military and anyone who works in law enforcement have contracts to get these weapons?
Yeah.
And civilians can't. I mean, it's very, very simple. It might lower sales by 20, 25%, but how many lives would it save in the process? A ton.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We look at these weapons that are used time and time again in these mass shootings, and it is just incredible to me.
You know who else uses them? Gang members.
I was going to say, it's just incredible to me that after we have these horrible mass shootings that take place, that we have people that call into the show, people that are on TV every day, that say the answer is more guns. It is disgusting. They are complicit, and they either, I'm sorry, but I'm just going to say it right now, they either have a very low IQ, which is very possible. We do get those calls from time to time, or they are so far to the right in their views that they are complicit, or the NRA is in their back pocket. I mean, it's one of those three or possibly all three, but I am sick of it. I'm tired of it. I am sick of it.
What Brady was saying was because people are scared out of fear, when things like this happen, gun sales go up.
Yeah. Well,
NRA memberships go up because
because
you still want to protect yourself in the grand scheme of things.
Which is sad.
At the end of the day,
it's not going to make the country.
It's you or somebody else.
It's not going to make the country any safer. That's the point I'm trying to make, and it's sad. Again, that number to call if you want to be a part of the program: 257-5396. Let's go to Bradley. Bradley, what's going on?
What's up, Brad? Perfect. Great call.
Thank you, Bradley. Perfect phone call. We appreciate that. 257-5396 is the number to call. I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break. We'll take more of your phone calls after this. You're listening to the Vegas Take on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM KDWN. All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take. Sharp and Shapiro taking your calls at 257-5396. We got a lot of people waiting patiently, so let's get right down to it. Let's go to Michael. Michael, you're next on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Rather. Just talking about the Second Amendment, the gun control and all that. I'm kind of half pregnant in the middle with probably a lot of people because there should be some type of regulations, but at the same time, too, the argument with you gentlemen making about, the assault rifles and everything like that should be only for law enforcement, military, and all that. Well, that's just the thing. Only law-abiding citizens will follow that. The criminals don't follow. That's why they're called criminals. And how am I to actually protect me and my family against the person that actually has that type of rifle if I'm only allowed, a magazine of 10?
Well, I guess I understand what you're saying, but I guess, Michael, my response would be, what should Congress do? Nothing? We shouldn't even try?
No. I'm right there with you. Congress should do something, but it's, what do we do? Because, again, criminals, they won't follow this. It will only affect law-abiding citizens. So I can see how it's difficult to find, something here in the middle.
I agree. Michael, listen, Michael, I agree. And I think if everybody was as like-minded as you, things would get done. That's the problem. We got Republicans and Democrats that are so far to the left and so far to the right, nothing gets done. And then sadly, I think these shootings are going to continue. Let's go to Joel. I think, Joel, you're next on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Doing okay. Thanks for taking my call.
Absolutely.
What you guys say is correct in the fact that both sides tend to talk past each other instead of to each other. But when you have one side that peddles fear in the way that the president and the administration does day after day, minute after minute,
mm-hmm.
and then you have the likes of people like Brady who, I'm sure he's well-meaning, but the fact of the matter is he's afraid of everything.
I would say, Joel, he's biased and complicit.
Well, absolutely. There's no question about it. But why is he biased and complicit? And I believe the motivation is fear. He's afraid of the other because Donald Trump tells him he has to be afraid of the other. Whomever the
Joel,
other
it's the same thing. Joel, you make a great point. It's the same thing. Listen to this Texas El Paso shooter in his manifesto. What was his fear? His fear was immigrants coming into this country, invading, correct? Who started that conversation? Who used that language?
That's exactly right. Infestation.
Right.
All these aggressive terms.
You're right.
That are being used to implicate an entire group of people who happen to be brown.
You're right, Joel. Joel, you're right. Listen, good call. I appreciate that. And, listen, that needs to be spoken out more. You're absolutely right. Fear. Have we seen on the left as well? Absolutely. Let's try to squeeze in one more call before we go to break. Let's go to Pat. Pat, what's going on? I got about 1 minute, Pat.
Hey, good morning. I just wanted to clarification for you on shotguns. I hear you guys talk about how we should ban assault weapons and so on and so forth, and I understand your position. I don't agree with it, but I understand it. But one of the issues about shotguns is everybody thinks that you can only injure maybe or kill 3 or 4 people in a matter of minutes. But the bottom line is with a shotgun, with an extended tube magazine or a barrel magazine, you could probably kill 60, 70, 75 people in a matter of minutes.
Okay, so let's just Pat, let me just say let's just say you're 100% right on this for sake of argument. You still can't compare that to some of these other assault rifles like an AR-15. You can't. It does tremendous amount of more damage. We all could agree on that. And
I'm sorry, I have to disagree.
You're saying a shotgun could commit more carnage than an AR-15? Listen, I'm up against a break. I want to keep you on hold. Would you like to stay on hold? We'll continue this conversation.
Yep.
All right. Pat's going to stay
Thanks
on hold.
a lot, Pat.
I'm up against a hard break. I want to give him ample time to respond to that. It is an interesting conversation, and I want to continue this conversation. I think one of the biggest issues facing this country is gun violence. And we're going to continue this conversation. Why does he think a shotgun can be compared to an AR-15? We'll talk about that coming up next. You're listening to the Vegas Take, 101.5 FM, 720 AM KDWN.